My name is Margaret. I am 38 years old, and 2 weeks ago, I learned that the most dangerous lies are the one we tell ourselves. 6 months ago, my life was perfect. My husband, David, had a steady job. We lived in a nice house. I hosted dinner parties every Sunday. Our neighbors respected us. They called us the perfect couple. Then David lost his job. The company closed overnight. David searched for work every single day. But nothing worked. The dinner party stopped. The neighbors stopped calling. But David stayed calm. He said we would survive through honest hard work. I wanted to believe him, but I was terrified. Every night I lay awake thinking about bills, about losing our house, about our 6-year-old son Tommy having to leave his school. That is when Richard came back into our lives. Richard was David's old friend from college. They had not spoken in 15 years. Then one afternoon, Richard knocked on our door. He was driving an expensive car, wearing an expensive suit. He looked successful and confident. Richard said he was in town and wanted to reconnect with old friends. David invited him in for coffee. They talked about college memories and caught up on lost years. Richard owned a big house across town. He talked casually about vacations to Europe and investments that made him wealthy. David asked what business he ran. Richard smiled and said he did not run a business. He invested in stocks. He made money from money. After that first visit, Richard came to our house 3 or 4 times a week. He always brought expensive coffee or pastries. He always talked about the stock market. Richard kept telling David to invest just a little money. He said David could double it in months. He said working a regular job was the slow way. The stock market was the smart way. But David always refused. He said he did not understand stocks. I listened to these conversations from the kitchen. I watched Richard's lifestyle. I wondered how someone could have so much without working hard like David. I started saving money in secret, a little from the grocery budget each week. A little from the household money David gave me. I hid cash in a box under my bed. It was not much, but it was something. I dreamed about investing it, about doubling it like Richard said, about surprising David with the money and proving I was smart enough to help our family. One Tuesday morning, David left early for a job interview across town. He would be gone all day. I stood in our bedroom holding that box of money. I made a decision. I put on my nicest dress. I took the money from the box. I took the bus across town to Richard's address. Richard's house was beautiful. I stood outside for 5 minutes before I found the courage to knock. Richard opened the door. He looked surprised to see me. Then he smiled. He invited me inside. The house was even more impressive. Richard asked why I came. I told him I wanted to invest. I wanted to help David. I wanted to be smart like Richard. Richard sat down across from me. He said $300 was not much, but he could work with it. Then Richard said something that changed everything. He said he would invest some of his own money alongside mine. Together, we could make real profit. He said this was a special favor because I was David's wife. I agreed and gave Richard my money. He counted it carefully. He wrote me a receipt. Then he moved closer and put his hand on my shoulder. He said I was very brave, much braver than David. He said I was making a smart choice. I thanked him and left quickly. The first month, Richard called me twice. He said the investment was doing well. He said our combined money was now worth almost double. He said to be patient, to keep this secret from David until we had bigger profits. I agreed. I felt excited. I was actually making money. The second month, Richard called me to his house. He handed me an envelope with $1,500 in cash. He said I was natural at this. I felt like a genius. I spent some of it on groceries, some on Tommy's school supplies. I bought myself a gold necklace. David noticed the necklace that evening. He asked where it came from. I panicked and said my sister gave it to me as a gift. David smiled and said it looked lovely on me. I went back to Richard's house the next week. This time I brought more money. I told Richard I wanted to invest more while the market was good. He took the money and said I was smart. Then he brought out a fancy bottle of wine. He poured 2 glasses and told me to celebrate my success. I sipped a little. He sat closer to me. He said I worked hard and gave me a spa voucher. He said I deserved something nice. When I tried to thank him, he took my hand. His fingers closed around mine. He said we should go together. He could get a private room. David did not need to know. This could be our secret. I tried to pull away, but his grip was strong. My heart pounded. I felt small, trapped. I could barely breathe. I pulled my hand free and stood up. I told him I had to go. He watched me leave, smiling like it was nothing. That night, David came home happy. He had a new job. He hugged me, but I felt heavy inside. I cried alone in bed. 2 days later, the landlord came for the rent. David asked for the money he gave me. I told him I gave it to Richard, our rent, Tommy's school money, almost $2,000. It was gone. David did not yell. He just sat there, silent, staring at the floor. Then he said, "You trusted Richard more than me." He was right. We sold my necklace to survive. I did not tell David how Richard touched me, how he held me too tight, how afraid I felt. The investment was a lie. Richard never wanted to help me. He only wanted control. David and I are still together, but the trust is broken. Some mistakes hurt too much to ever fix.